What is up, comic people? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. I'm Mark. It's Sunday. That means this is at week's end. The spoiler-filled look back at this week in comics and so much more. There's a lot to talk about, from new comic book day spoilers to House of Dragon, She-Hulk, Top Gun, Nope. Just all kinds of stuff has gone on and was able to catch up this week, as well as the big thing. It is Jack Kirby's birthday, so we're going to be starting off with that. If you want to share what Jack Kirby means to you and your fandom, don't go anywhere. Check this out. Let's go ahead and bring in our panel. We got our co-host riding with us tonight, our man from the 10-gallon town. Ryan, what is going on?
What's up, man? Excited to be here. It's been a crazy 2 weeks.
Awesome. I'm working on my intros for you guys. So, as always, we've got the man from the next sector over, making the longest trip to get here, but he did it anyways. Mr. Paul Cook from Sector 2815.
What's going on?
Nothing much. Like I said, just working on these intros. All right, and lastly, joining the panel tonight, forged in the fires of hell, raised 2 blocks down from a nuclear power plant, we have none other than the man, the myth, the legend, the comic man.
That might have been a little out there.
2 blocks.
2 blocks. What is going
blocks.
on, Chris? I love the shirt. Reppin' Only Slabs, for those that don't know. Every Saturday, 2 p.m., Rob's Fat Stacks. That was a fun show with Mr. DJ Links this past week.
Can I show you guys a picture of a couple friends of ours? I got to meet these 2 handsome devils
nice.
today.
Miranda brothers.
Wow.
And they did say, when we're ready, they're ready. So if we want to get them on to talk about issue 4 and issue 5, I don't want to spoil anything for those who haven't had a chance to read We Live yet, but it's just one of those.
Yeah, we'll be spoiling it tonight. Ryan's here, so we're going to be, if everyone's read it, we'll be talking that tonight for sure, because this one plays out a lot differently than that first volume. So I'm not ashamed or afraid to spoil this one for reasons we'll get into a little bit later.
But they said they're heading back to Spain tomorrow from Toronto, and when they're ready, or when we're ready to have them back on at week's end to have a talk about We Live, they're ready too. Yeah,
it's most definitely going down. And when you mentioned that you were going to meet him, I laughed and told you as soon as I finished reading issue 5. I want to say 6 because that double first, but as soon as I finished reading issue 5, I put the book down, grabbed my phone, and messaged Inaki immediately. I'm like, bro, I need answers.
It's the same thing. I'm like what? What did you do?
We're going to milk it out of him for sure.
What did you do?
Nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
Yeah, it was it was an incredibly personal issue, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was dope. I liked it a lot. And it definitely hits different than that first volume. But real quick, let's say thank you to the sponsors, Big Time Collectibles. They sponsor the channel, the monthly giveaway box for the channel members. If you're interested in joining the channel and be a part of that giveaway, be sure to hit that join button down below. Also, check out bigtimecollectibles.com. You can follow them on Instagram, Facebook. They're always doing some awesome stuff like exclusives, obviously, but they do FOC orders as well as mystery boxes and all kinds of other fun stuff. And they also have been teasing the foil special edition for the upcoming Death of Superman anniversary. That's going to be their next big announcement that they're rolling out. And if you need anything cleaner pressed, hit up our friend Justin on Instagram. Link is in the description to all my videos. Use that promo code WeAreLegion and take advantage of any of the special offers that he's currently got running. And if you want to get your books graded, he can submit them for you if you don't want to go the hassle yourself. So hit him up. I feel like I've done that a time or two. Switching over to the chat, let's say hey to some people. Paul Rogers, what is going on? Channel member there. Rudy, how are you doing tonight? Les Crucius is in the house. John Stout, hello. Mars, how are you? Stephen C is in the building. What is up, Legionnaires? Hello to people. Hello, Kelly from Retro Rocket Comics. Kelly and Chris over there running the LCS for the Chris right here. Boom, 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 boom. Your Jim is in the house. How are you doing tonight? Big Nosh. Ran out of money, so I robbed a bank. Caught a bus, walked 20 miles, stole a car, drove off a cliff, climbed a mountain wall. Finally caught the taxi home so I wouldn't miss the show. We are Legion. That's dedication there.
Exactly.
When Big Nosh enters the building, he enters the building, my guy.
We thought intergalactic travel was something special.
Oh, you're in second place now. Down through there. Mad Spidey, what is going on, brother? All the way from the far side of the world there. Trev, the shipping gurus in the house, what is going on? Hello, hello. So let's get into it. We're going to kick off and start off. It is Jack Kirby's birthday today, all the way back in 19-0, aka 1917. The man was born on this day, in which arguably birthed the most influential and greatest comic creator that has ever lived. Now, I know that is definitely up for debate. People will have their preferences, but there's no debate that he is literally on the Mount Rushmore of comic book creators to have ever lived. Now, what he's created and what he's done with the likes of Stan Lee and so many other creators will live on well past all of us, and he's going to have impacted so many different people and collectors in so many different ways. And I just wanted to touch on that and how he has impacted our fandom specifically. And because it's going to be different mileage for different folks. But Chris, do you want to kick it off? I know this must be like a kid in a candy shop for you to get to talk about this.
Yeah, he's so special. When you said Mount Rushmore, I kind of thought for a sec, well, who would be on my Mount Rushmore? Oh, that's easy. Siegel, Schuster, Stan, and Jack. And I would probably have Jack. I'm not sure what president is the one that's by himself looking. Is it Lincoln? Like, you have the three, and then there's the fourth kind of, I don't know. Either way, I think that would be my Mount Rushmore. Siegel, Schuster, because they gave us the Man of Steel, and then Stan for what he did with so many different characters, but Jack Kirby brought them to life, but he also brought Simon's work to life as well so much. But yeah, we were talking backstage, and I just thought, like, my God, where would we be without Captain America? And if it wasn't for Jack Kirby, we wouldn't have Captain America. Then we wouldn't have the Fantastic Four. A lot of people get caught up in the drama of Stan saying, well, he made one book just for him, the Fantastic Four. It was Jack Kirby that brought it to life, though. Like, that Mr. Fantastic wouldn't look the way he does. The Thing wouldn't look the way he does without him. And then so on and so forth. And everything that goes cosmic from the Fantastic Four on. And including, I know Mark's going to talk about one of his favorite characters, but the Black Panther, such an important character for Marvel moving forward. That's Kirby as well. But yeah, and then my personal favorite is the cover for the Amazing Fantasy 15. Everyone's first appearance of looking at Spider-Man. That's Jack Kirby that does that cover, not Ditko. It's Jack Kirby that drew him like that iconic cover. That's all Kirby.
Paul?
Yeah, obviously I was more of a DC fan growing up, but the thing that occurred to me, and I was thinking about this today, the thing that occurred to me is I can think, with the exception of one title, I can't think of a single comic title that Jack Kirby worked on that he did not have a hand in creating.
Yeah.
The only one I can think of is Jimmy Olsen when he came to DC, but the only reason he did that is because so that he could create his fourth world. But everything else, think about it. I mean, all these other creators, they work on multiple characters that other people have created. To me, that just shows the breadth and the width of what Jack Kirby created. That I can't think of a single instance where he was one of the either the writer or the artist on a book that he did not have a hand in creating that particular character.
Well said.
Yeah, even like when he does things like DC First Issue Special, when he did Manhunter, he reinvented Manhunter and brought a small
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
That's nuts. The Dingbats.
Yeah.
OMAC, Commandy, the New Gods,
Yep.
Forever People.
Right.
And even with Jimmy Olsen, his first issue, what was it, 134? The first thing he did was invent Morgan Edge, who we just had in season 1 of the CW Superman and Lois series as the main villain.
And I can't think of anything he did with Marvel where, I mean, he was on Captain America. He helped create that. Black Panther, Thor, so you name it.
Hulk.
He was everything that he worked on. He helped create.
Yeah.
Now, Ryan, you haven't had like the in-depth history with comics like some of us have. So how does his legacy? How does it hit you differently?
I mean, for me, like, I know what he did and, like the history and the legacy he leaves behind. And just like as a fan of the medium in general, and like everything that has come from it, like you can't help but admire the things he's done and what he's known for,
But Pop, from which character though would stand out forward? Would it be Cable or Deadpool or Youngblood?
Major X.
Major X. I don't know. For me though, like definitely, like as a specific character, Etrigan. You know, like that's a character that I definitely share a love with Mark for, and I think it's a character that like every time he pops up in a book, like I immediately like message Mark, like you got to read this book. He's here, you know. I remember when he popped up in Dark Knights of Steel, and he's attached to Constantine in there, and that was just like phenomenal the way they brought him about in that book, and even more recently they attached him to Detective Chimp, and I think it was Justice League Dark.
Future
And,
State.
Oh, Future State. That's the specific name it was. Yeah,
That's
like
awesome.
that was such a fire moment. Like I love that character just because like he adds an extra dimension and dynamic to every character they attach him to, and so you know, just admiring like Etrigan was like a later creation. You know, to just be able to admire knowing that he created like all of these big characters and these big moments and everything that people remember him for, like even a later creation, he still like had some creativity and originality to it all and made somebody amazing that's memorable. So you can only admire what he did for the medium overall, you know.
And how he's even crossed mediums, because you can't look at comic book movies without seeing his stamp of approval pretty much. You know, since Marvel's been doing anything before Disney ever got attached to him, we had Spider-Man, we had Fantastic Four, you know, we have the Hulk, even modern, we have the Eternals, which he 100% created. After his tenure at DC. He went back to Marvel and kind of just did like a bastardized versions of the Fourth World over there just to kind of do his own thing. It's like New Gods Light, but it's pretty wild. Let's see what Brother John says. He opened the door to so many others in terms of pushing the envelope of visual storytelling. His work allowed folks like Infantino and Kubert to do things different than standard 6-box layouts. Mm-hmm. He invented romance comics. Mm-hmm. Yeah, his reach is absolutely insane. And for me, like just kind of touching, I mean, the Marvel stuff is definitely very obvious. I'm a huge Hulk fan, and he was right there on day one creating the Incredible Hulk with Stan Lee, which is wild. I'm happy to say that I do have issue 4, which is a Kirby cover for Incredible Hulk. That's as low of an issue as I got, but that's one of now my prized possessions. I was able to pick up when me and Pops were comic hunting together at Heroes this year. It was really cool. But more than anything, for me, just like with Paul, I'm a DC fan, so it was his time at DC. The fact that like he came over there and immediately started crafting and creating the Fourth World, and what he did when he got there, the first thing he said is, "What's your lowest selling title? What book is in the most trouble? I want that one." And like it's Jimmy Olsen right now, and he got it. And next thing you know, he's created Darkseid, the New Gods, the Forever People, all spanning out of the pages of Jimmy Olsen, tying those books in together in a way that really wasn't done like that on monthly titles like that at the time. But it's just wild to see that the footprint he left over at DC in that small time that he was there. Darkseid is literally the biggest villain in that entire universe. Even Marvel fanboys will tell you that Darkseid would wreck their version of him. You know, like it's just one of those. He's like a goat in the terms of villains. But it's just really cool. And there's always this story that I love to tell whenever talking about Jack Kirby. And it was when him and Stan were working on Silver Surfer, and the way that they worked together so well, Stan would tell Jack what he wants to do. Jack would draw the pages, give them to Stan, and he would then fill in the words. Like they just worked so well together. So he told him about this character, this world devourer named Galactus that he wants to come and try to take on the Fantastic Four. And Jack's like, okay, I got you. And he sits down and he draws all the pages and he gives them back to Stan. And Stan looks at him and says, all right, wait a minute. Jack, come here. Who's this guy on the surfboard flying through space? And Jack tells him, well, a character as big as Galactus, he would need a herald, wouldn't he? That's the Silver Surfer. And that's how they work together. That's absolutely insane and unheard of these days. And stuff like that is just, it doesn't matter how many times you hear it, it never gets old. It's just an amazing, amazing comic creation.
Yeah, just to speak to the next generation and the respect they had from when the creators broke away from Marvel and DC went to form Image. Todd tells the story that what they were considering doing was on each page, or pardon me, each first page when you open up the cover, how each Marvel comic says Stan Lee presents. What they wanted to do was open it up and say Jack Kirby presents in respect to what he did, because it was, as we know, it was mostly artists that walked away from Marvel and DC. It wasn't necessarily the writers, because at that moment, the artists had all the acclaim and all the shine, all the spotlight at that particular time in history. So that's a story that I always liked, that Todd talked about when he referenced Jack Kirby, because when anyone says anything to him about who is his favorite creator, he always says Jack Kirby. And I know a lot of people have a lot of respect for Todd at this point now, not necessarily just for what he did with Spawn and Venom and Spider-Man. It's just, leading that pack away from the big two publishers to go on and create Image. And thank God they did, because look where comic books are today, because they decided to walk away. And they wanted to give an homage to Jack Kirby by saying, when they open up that book, Jack Kirby presents. But sadly, it didn't happen.
That still would have been cool. He also had that run. God, what was it? Was it at Dynamite that he was doing like Silver Star and all those characters, like the New Genesis characters, not tied to the New Gods or New Genesis at DC? Pops is in the chat. He's going to have to correct me on that. Let's see. Comic Book G-Spot is in the house. What is going on, brother? Jack Kirby started so many stories and art styles of his time that others have been inspired to perfect his craft and story. One of the best legends of his time, and his legacy continues. Absolutely. And will for many, many years to come.
So what are those black dots again all around when he does cosmic? Right. Ken Lashley loves doing that when he does artwork or whatever, anything that's potentially cosmic, he does that as an homage, because Ken Lashley says that his favorite character growing up was Black Panther, and it's through Jack Kirby that we got the Black Panther. So yeah, it's just, there's more artists that without people even realizing, they always give these quiet homages to Jack Kirby. But yeah, he just so many iconic covers, just besides Amazing Fantasy 15. Right, see? That's exactly what I'm talking about.
The Jack Kirby care packages from the Kirby estate, and the boxes have that cosmic Kirby crackle on it. Even the Superman statue that I have, the base of it is standing on a apocalypse with one of the fire pits, and the fire coming out of it has Kirby crackle on it. I'm like, perfect. There it is. Or all that. I just recently picked up a ton of Kirbyverse top comics, as well as Jack Kirby's Fourth World #1. Fantastic. Yeah, those top comics is the Captain Victory stuff back in the day. Pacific Comics is where Silver Star Captain Victory appeared. Absolutely. That's originally appeared, but they it was like in, God, I want to say like 2008 or 2009 they brought him back in, and it was Alex Ross doing the cover art for him at the time. This wasn't Kirby working on him. This was after he had passed away. But there was a whole run of them. There's, God, and I'm going to have to go back and look those up. Kirbyverse. Doom. So moving on. I've watched a lot of stuff this week. I don't know if y'all want to dive into any of the stuff that you watched. The new House of Dragon starts. It airs while we're live, so we're going to be like exactly a week behind talking about that. But I finally watched Top Gun Maverick. Phenomenal. I watched the new Jordan Peele movie, Nope. Really fun. I watched the new movie Samaritan with Stallone. I really enjoyed it. It was corny. It was campy. It felt like an early 2000s movie, but it's I think it was what it was intending to be. Like I'm not going to say it was good, but I enjoyed watching it. What else I watched? House of Dragons. I think that's about it.
She-Hulk.
I watched that. Very forgettable amongst those other ones I just named. Very forgettable. Y'all pick. What do y'all want to talk? You want to touch on any of those? I know we only have you for a limited time, Chris, so I want to use you wisely.
I thought I'll scan over everything you just said. I thought She-Hulk was fun. I thought it was an improvement on the first episode, but there was room to grow. Let's be honest. I'm sure Mark will be like, you had the whole, the whole building to climb is from the first episode. I thought this one was fun. The runtime, I kind of like, I wish it was a little bit more. And the whole breaking the fourth wall again. I get that's her volume 2. That was her thing. And but it's like, what happens when her and Deadpool share the screen? That's my question. To me, it's at this point, I think it's a Deadpool thing, but okay, we're going to move forward. And the big question is, why does her hair grow?
When her and Deadpool share the screen, they're both going to say something, look at each other and say, who are you talking to?
That would be awesome.
That could be it.
That would be awesome.
I thought Samaritan was just hot fire.
I don't
just hot, just kitty litter
I
stuff.
definitely don't hate the She-Hulk show by any stretch of the imagination. Like, not even close. I think it's okay, and I think that's okay for me to think it's okay.
Yeah, and House of Dragon. I mentioned it backstage. I thought it was a very good first episode. It made me realize how much I missed watching Game of Thrones. They have, I think, the casting is all really good. They have some weird looking people or some weird characters. Yeah, it's Matt Smith.
For a point of
is a good
reference,
villain.
just to kind of wrap your minds around this, because like being in a comic world, I kind of think that everyone watches the same stuff we do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, not at all. She-Hulk was sitting at about 1.5 million viewers. I'm like, damn, that's a lot of people. Game of Thrones or House of Dragons, 20 million plus viewers in the same time span.
Yeah, it's
not even close.
But that's a worldwide phenomenon. Like, we have to be honest.
But I was under the assumption that so is Marvel stuff. I've never gone back to look at viewership stuff, but I just got curious. I'm like, I wonder how, because I watched Game of Thrones today, so I'm like, I wonder how good this show did. So I just looked up to see, like, if that stuff's even available. And the viewership numbers are readily available for everything. And they even time span the first day release, the 5-day release. I'm like, oh, wow. Then I looked at She-Hulk just for a point of reference because it's on right now. Well, let's see how good She-Hulk's doing. And it's that 1.5 million views for that show was a successful launch for that show. But I'm like, dude, that's crazy to think about the differences here. Like, I mean, you can definitely see the money on the screen with Game of Thrones. Like, you can see it. That was a gorgeous show.
It's not even close. Like the Marvel films, right? The Marvel films will blow. Other than, again, WandaVision, I think they actually seemed to have a decent budget for that, and same with Winter Soldier and Sam there. Yeah, the Game of Thrones.
It's actually funny. It's fun, but it's not humorous. I said this after episode 1. I think it would be funny if we weren't already like desensitized to the MCU humor, because it just fits right into the formula at this point. It doesn't stand out like the comic did at the time. You know, that was the only comic doing what it was doing. And now that the show's doing this, it's She-Hulk Love and Thunder.
Yeah, they took their second step. I said this last week. They're setting up World War Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So tell everyone what you're referring to.
So in the episode, the Hulk calls Jessica, and they show at the end, as the phone call is ending, that he's on a Sakaar ship, basically heading into space. And so it seems to me that they're setting up World War Hulk, but they also could be getting ready to bring in Scar, which could lead to Young Avengers, they could lead to so many different things, obviously.
Beta Ray Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Omega Red, Mephisto.
Stop it. Stop it.
I heard he's gonna be in the next episode.
They did bring in Abomination in this episode. He is he's in containment with, I don't even know who has him contained. It looks like the law offices of Jackson Hewitt have him contained.
I understood that reference as a Canadian.
But he's sitting there all zenned out and everything, and he's all happy and peaceful with life and making amends with people. And Jennifer Walters has been hired to represent him as a lawyer for his crimes. And yeah, that's what we get. And then at the very end of it, the little catcher of the episode is the cell phone footage from Shang-Chi with him fighting Wong, which was an exercise and practice of self-control, which we know from seeing Shang-Chi. That gets put on the television without any of the context. So everyone thinks that he's breaking out of jail to go fight in underground street fights. But yeah, so it was weird. I want to see Abomination be a bad guy. I'm kind of wondering if this is going to be like just a ruse, or if they're really softening him up just to go send him to the Thunderbolts, which I think y'all aren't going to want to hear this, but I think that they've softened up Abomination to make him a comical relief big idiot on the Thunderbolts team, because they need a big idiot. Look at the roster. None of the female characters will be portrayed as like big idiots, obviously. John Walker, not a big idiot. Who's some other ones on the roster they released? You got Ghost, White Widow.
It's some controversy
Titania.
because the Ghost says she's not coming back. And what about Deadpool? Right? Like,
no, I didn't see Deadpool on there. It was John Walker, Abomination, and one more dude. Titania, Ghost, and White Widow were the 3 female characters, and Abomination, U.S. Agent, and somebody else were the male characters. He said U.S. Agent is a big idiot. I don't think so. He's going to be the overbearingly overstraight
Taskmaster. That's it. Thanks, CW. Thanks.
Yeah. So none of those characters have potential to be the big idiot. It's got to be Abomination. He's your comic relief on that team.
I don't know. Tim Roth is so good of an actor. You can't waste. Yeah,
I think John Walker is an idiot, but not like a comical relief idiot.
Yeah,
there's nothing funny about that character in Winter Soldier. In fact,
I was gonna say, like, if anything, I could see them trying to turn John Walker into their Peacemaker.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's gonna be like the headstrong, like get the mission done. It's all about the job sort of character. Probably not like quite at the like comedic level that Peacemaker is. Yeah. Of course, Marvel loves to make everybody funny, but you know, I kind of see them as trying to turn him into their Peacemaker.
You think they're going to make Carl Krill an Oath? That'd be cool if they brought him in. You know, we had him in the ABC's Shield, Agents of Shield television show. But the way that continuity works is whatever happened in the movies matters in the show.
The show doesn't matter to the.
It doesn't matter to the movies.
I can't see them wasting a talent like Tim Roth, but then again, they did it with Ben Kingsley, right? So like whether you like Tim Roth or not, like he's a serious dramatic actor, and the fact they had him for the first Hulk movie for the MCU was quite the coup. So again, I wouldn't want to see them burn that kind of talent on just comedic relief.
Yeah,
unless it's the Abomination. As the Abomination, that's the character relief or the comic relief, but I wouldn't want to see them blow Tim Roth the way they ruined Ben Kingsley in the tail end of Shang-Chi.
Woody Harrelson be another good example of not utilizing your actors properly, or not necessarily improperly, but just missing an opportunity. And Absorbing Man was in the first Hulk movie, but they kind of like mushed him into the Peter David era and made his father the Absorbing Man, which was probably the biggest turnoff of that movie. Yeah, then here's a good point. Read the second volume of U.S. Agent miniseries. Walker is not an idiot. He's a savage. He's an absolute savage. He's a bastard through and through.
Yeah.
Manor is the worst angle in the MCU. One of the characters so bad. But he had Maurice, the 2-assed, 4-legged little furry creature.
Right.
Maurice.
Like Sir Ben Kingsley is like one of the greatest actors of our time, and look what they did with him.
Did any of y'all watch switching notes here? Have y'all seen Top Gun yet? I was late to the game to see it. Chris?
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, hell yeah, it was.
Good time.
That was such a good movie. It was ridiculous.
It's a good time.
Yeah, it was. So we'll come back to that later when everyone's seen it, because I just would like to know all y'all's reaction. There's really nothing to spoil or tell. It's just an experience. Like it's all about the experience.
It's Maverick in modern times. Let's be honest.
It was fire. It was so good.
Yeah, I can't speak for Paul, but I could care less. Like, if you want to talk about it.
No, you got to see it.
Just to touch on a little bit without spoiling it, I thought Tom Cruise played a very good Maverick that carries so much emotional baggage. Like, it's not the Maverick that we had from the 80s that, like, what was it, Mach 2 with your hair on fire? He's he's a damaged Maverick, and it's really, really good. And
Miles Teller was fantastic in that movie.
Yeah,
Scientology.
Everyone.
Yes.
The whole premise of the movie is like he's a test pilot. He's Hal Jordan, basically. Later in his career, refused numerous promotions just to maintain the captain status. Heavily decorated captain, he added, but still pushing buttons and being the hot-headed test pilot. He gets assigned to go back to the Top Gun training program to flush out the hand-picked group of top flight pilots to get 6 ready for a mission that they need to do to stop some uranium production factory. And the movie is primarily him trying to train these people to do this run like this. And it reminded me of that quote, like how peace breeds soft men breed war breeds strong men breed peace. So despite the fact that these people are the top of their class, they've never experienced anything like Maverick or the old guard did. They haven't been to war like that. So they have to be trained on a level that, despite them being the best of the best, they're not good enough for this. They're not Iceman, they're not Maverick, and he's got to try to get them there. It was
right. And with the background undertow that they just want to shut it all down and just go drone. Like
He's being serious, by the way. He every time I mention this movie, he's like, "Well,
was it? Remember Afterburner back in the day?
He's like 4 foot tall, Hal Jordan. He has to sit on the telephone book, dude. And they don't try to church him up to be tall in this. And I noticed that numerous times when he's standing across.
People are looking down on him.
Teller. Yeah, Miles Teller's looking down on him. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Rooster. Yeah, it's a good popcorn movie. I see someone said, Tyler said, movie of the year and one of the best sequels of all time. I think, for sure, one of the best sequels of all time. It's a incredibly successful movie, but there's been slim pickings, though, right? For everyone wants to go to the movie.
I haven't seen The Northman yet. That's still on my list to see, but my movie of the year so far has been The Batman, and then I saw Top Gun. I'm like, dude, as much as I like The Batman, I like this more. Like, no BS. I enjoy this more. I can't wait to watch it again. But it was just good, man. It was ridiculous. And I'm DC biased. I'm not even going to pretend that I just have a natural to forgive a lot more and enjoy a lot more. But this was good.
Okay. Does Tom Cruise run in this movie? Well, he rides that motorcycle.
Yeah, he does.
And
Pop's in the chat.
Yeah, he still gets referred to as Ghost Rider. Negative Ghost Rider. The pattern is full.
Pop typing right there. You tell him, hey. No. Let's see. There's a couple other things. There's some stuff that's been beat to death, like this CGC coming clean and finally announcing that they're not going to blue label the acetate books. CBCS losing a bunch of books. There's been stuff like that that's dropped this week. Dan Lin was announced as a potential front runner to be the DC single man creative mind behind their film projects. They were looking for
like a showrunner. You mean
no, like a Feige,
like the Feige role.
Yeah, producer above it all, to have that single vision to help steer the overall.
Who's Dan Lin?
Exactly.
I got to go back and look. I did look him up when I first announced that he did the
last Airbender movie.
Okay.
Which totally.
And like Shyamalan
the live action Airbender movie.
Yeah, the live action, I believe. Yeah.
Yep. Out. Nope.
All right, here you go. He did it. This is a producer, not a director, by the way.
Okay.
The last Airbender was so bad that everybody involved in that project should be crucified for the rest of forever.
I'm pretty sure they all canceled themselves afterwards.
It was really good. Well, the first it was really good.
The Lego movie, the Batman Lego movie, the Aladdin movie, Godzilla vs. Kong. So he's got some bigger movies under his belt. Sherlock Holmes, the Guy Ritchie one. So he's got some hits and some misses.
Yeah.
Ryan, you're a big fan of the Lego movie stuff, aren't you? Because of the writers behind it, right?
Yeah. The Lego movie was awesome. Lego Batman was awesome.
First time.
Yeah. I mean, there's just no excuse for how bad that movie was. It was based on a property that is already exists and everything is there. It just makes no sense that movie was that bad. That's just gross negligence on every single level.
Airbender or Disney?
The Last Airbender.
Okay. So I never watched any of those cartoons, and when that movie came out, I watched it. I was working.
It's a cartoon where they say the character names regularly, and in the movie they couldn't even get them right.
Ong.
Yeah, that is not his name. Not
It's
even
not-
close. Not even close. You would think
I
as many
don't know,
episodes of that
Jeff.
show as there are, they could have got it right. Just
I've
once.
never seen a single episode. I've only saw the movie, and I watched it because there's nothing else to watch. Because I would be like, the staff would be allowed to take home new movies and watch them like before they released, so that we can try to talk about them with the customers. We were encouraged to do that. So I went home and watched it. I'm like, dude, that was a good kids movie. That was dope. Like, I remember the end of it when he's on the wall doing the stuff, and he brings the whole wall of water up, and he front kicks it, and he's like on full blast. I'm like tearing up. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then I find out that everyone hates it. I'm like,
It's easily one of the worst movies ever made, and the cartoon is literally one of the best shows ever made.
that blows
Like,
my mind.
kid shows, regular adult shows, like it works on like that, like that Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks level where it just like has so many tiers to it that it like hits for the entire audience. Like, that show is absolutely flawless. And then they made a movie like that, and they acted like the show didn't even exist.
What's the kid's name?
Aang?
Aang? Not
Like
Aang.
Ang Lee?
No, yeah.
They call him Aang the whole movie.
Who probably would have made a better movie out of it.
Life of Pi with Aang.
Yeah.
It's on the same level as the Dragon Ball movie. I get that reference. Okay.
Yeah.
Because my brother, I would come home from school in middle school. My brother was in high school. He'd get home a little bit before me, and he'd have Dragon Ball Z fired up. Never cared or got into it, but I'd seen enough of the episodes to know when that movie came out that gorilla at the end was supposed to be like Godzilla sized. I'm like, this ain't right.
Yeah.
So
That
so
movie
is,
was
is Detective Pikachu better than The Last Airbender then?
yeah. Detective Pikachu is pretty decent.
Yeah, it was fun.
That works as a kid's movie,
I know my son watched The Last Airbender, the cartoon, and he really enjoyed it. And then I said, well, there's a lot of heavy anime movies out there. You need to go check them out. Start with Akira. So he watched Akira, and he's like, Dad, like, Last Airbender is right up there with Akira. And I'm like, you better take it easy now. And then you'd speak more, and people say the same thing that Ryan just did. The Last Airbender, the cartoon, is generational. I don't mean generational in time. I mean generational for those that can enjoy it while it's still, relevant. And then I heard the exact same thing about The Last Airbender, the movie. I remember seeing the trailer where this Navy is like unloading in one direction, and there's some kid just standing on a cliff, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. And sounds like I was about right. Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know any better. I liked it. I'm sorry. I won't tell anybody else. I've bought it like on high def since. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Stop admitting that. You're gonna get canceled.
I still want to know what happened to all the monks. They're all dead now, and what's the full story? How did he get stuck in that ice cube? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where does his little flying?
That what?
There's even a sequel series that's like highly well reviewed, and they get into more like the history of the avatars and everything in that.
Yeah, I just thought that was cool. Like when they rolled up on the Earth people, and they're just sitting there doing the grounds. I'm like, dude, this is dope.
Yeah.
And then the big turn at the end when you find out that the fire guy is really a good guy. I'm like, what? 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 That's crazy. Thank you, Ben. Yeah. Mark is describing the phenomenon where the general public has never read comics.
Right?
Wow.
Exactly. See, I'm about to have that same experience, and I realized that when this new Lord of the Rings show comes out, because that show is getting crucified by the Lord of the Rings fans. Crucified. Like they're like going deep Tolkien on it. If you look, every single trailer, anything that's released at all has gotten ratioed, which means that the dislikes are far, far outnumbering the likes. Like it'll be 2,000 likes to over 100,000 dislikes, which you have to go into metrics to even find how bad people are hating it. But you probably cannot find an Amazon trailer where the comment section has not been bombarded by thousands of Lord of the Ring fans just saying my favorite part was, and then they'll just say something outrageous. Like that's like their thing. I caught on like, dude, this is hilarious. They're big mad. They're big mad.
Wow.
And I get it. I've watched the movies. I love the movies. I've never read the books. So I don't have like whatever they tell me on film is what I go with. Kind of like with Star Wars stuff. That doesn't mean Star Wars stuff is good, but dude, they're pissed about this because they're completely destroying the mythos and history of Lord of the Rings.
Isn't this like off-brand Tolkien or something?
No, it's not even Tolkien. It's just there's a couple.
Well, yeah, that's like the whole thing, right? Yeah, like they have like very minimal rights to anything Tolkien, so they're like attaching to the universe, even though they really don't have the rights to. So they're like trying to do it as tenuously as possible.
The original 3 movies and a couple of letters. That's it. That is it. So they have to take things from the original 3 movies that were like mentioned in passing and pair it to the letters and pretend to be building something off that. So what they're doing is their own complete thing.
Yeah, they're basically writing their own thing and just like
their own thing. And when they
trying to sell it on the Tolkien name.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean it can't be good.
Right.
Like if you're a fan and you're wanting your fandom to be represented, you're screwed. But they're still capable of making a quality show, I hope. We'll see.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, it's kind of shooting yourself in the knee, though, you know, like there's a chance it's a good show if you just like have no Tolkien reference, but as hard as they're trying to push that brand, it makes it kind of hard.
I question their timing though to put it up against the new Game of Thrones series though, like 2 weeks after that starts.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
Like you do not want.
That's really what they're trying to cash in on is the success of Game of Thrones, like 10 years later or whatever.
I'm just thinking they don't want you don't want that right now, like because
they needed to be like 2 years earlier on this, and they might have actually had something.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll be honest, I'm curious.
I'm definitely watching it. It comes out on my birthday. I'm excited. My wife is excited. Well, she likes the fantasy stuff. You know what I mean?
You have a birthday?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Next Thursday, I think September 3rd.
I think
September 3rd.
First.
Yeah. It's my brother's birthday.
Yeah, it also premieres on the anniversary of Tolkien's death. So I thought that was a little.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think it said it'll start for us at 9 p.m. on the 1st.
Worst marketing team ever.
Right. What they're doing is they're dropping it worldwide at the exact same time, no matter what country you're in.
Okay.
So the official drop date is September 2nd, but it's going to be 9 p.m. September 1st for us in the United States. In the East.
Hashtag real time.
Okay.
Ryan, that's 8 for you, buddy. No, 10 for you, buddy. It's sometime that's not 9.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ryan,
this is how
Lord of the Last Airbender.
Oh yeah, it would be.
If it goes bad,
Lord of the Last Airbender.
If it goes bad, Lord of the Last Airbenders.
Sounds about right.
But yeah, that's the aggressively relaxing. I know his son did some of the writing afterwards, and he kept that biblical theme to it as well. Was it Christopher Tolkien, I believe is his name? And they were successful, and a lot of the fans recognize it. But we'll see where this goes.
Let's see. Aggressively.
I wonder if Moon Knight will stand up against it.
The idea that people who have strong feelings about this are also the type of people review bombing is just character assassination. Rumor has it Taika Waititi is directing the new Lord of the Rings.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Not at all. I still love What We Do in the Shadows. I think that show is like top tier comedy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna bow out, guys. 4 o'clock's just around the corner.
That means we're about to start talking comic books.
Do you want to go We Live?
You want to do that first? You want to hit We Live first?
Let's talk about We Live before I go.
Let's go.
So before I preface all this, again, these two gentlemen above me here patiently waited for me to read the first volume of We Live before they dissected it, only because they thought it was just a masterpiece. So I read it and I agreed with them. It's a masterpiece. Choked me up at the end to see what happened to those 2 small children on their journey to the megalopolis where Hototo becomes a superhero. And that moment's just one of those wow moments for me in modern comic book histories. Now we patiently waited for Volume 2. I know Volume 2 hasn't been necessarily received by a lot of people the same way that Volume 1 has. But my God, for those of you that don't want to get spoiled, you're going to have to mute me. But they killed off Tala. Like, what the hell? And then they turn around at the tail end of issue 5, released to the general public that during COVID, they lost their father. So, like, I spoke to them privately in person. I said, so how difficult was it to recognize that Tala, that you weren't, Tala was not going to make the end of this journey, at the end of this volume, and that Hatoto was finally going to be left alone, knowing, or with your, what about DC versus vampires? And James Tynan, by the way, says I'm a good guy for supporting James. Never mind. But I asked him, like, so how heavy was it, or how hard was it to know that your father just passed away, and now you're going to have to that you're deciding to let go of one of the main characters of the story? And then Anaki just said to me quietly, "This was the plan all along." So they knew from the get-go that Tala was not going to carry on, and that Hatoto at the end of Volume 2 was going to be alone. And issue 5 is just painful to watch because there's Hatoto carrying her body. It's so damn good. It's so damn good. It's such a, I don't want to say 180-degree turn from where we were at the end of the first volume, but that's, to me, that's exactly what happened. Now the world is in major distress. All the superheroes are now turning into bastardized versions of themselves, and
we need to touch on that for a second, because we found out that in the beacons from Volume 1, the characters we've been following were not the only ones with the armbands to salvation. It showed what happened to the other kids, the ones that were loaded up in those beacons when the timer were coming down. The infected actually got in there with them and infected the kids with the beacon. So you had people get activated as Palladians that were infected. So you have what's called the plague, infected Palladians. We got introduced to like our crime syndicate, if you will, our Injustice League for this series. So if there's ever to be keys for this volume, issue 5 was a key, introducing us to the plague, as well as a whole nother set of Palladians that we haven't seen who rolled in as backup to help fight the plague in this series. It was a lot that they added in, and they cliffhanged every bit of it. Every bit of it.
And some of them didn't make it too. Like, this was an incredibly negative issue. There's nothing positive about this issue.
No, we saw that Tala is in fact dead. We saw her buried. We saw Hatoto give her a funeral by fire, lighting up that tree that we saw in Volume 1, that now we understand why we saw it, and we saw it on fire. It was him, pretty much his vantage point, laying her to rest. And then at the end, this is what got me that I'm the most excited for. It said long ago, when you see a character where you can't tell if it's a human in a suit, if it's a Palladian, if it's an alien, he's kind of got like the Zodiac look to his head, but more round. But the Zodiac is in the character, not the murderer, Ryan. I know where you're going. But it looks like he's
actually, you know what, this scene, as soon as it started happening, I was like, is this Prometheus? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, like, we're getting like the birth of humanity from like
Scott
an alien species.
Yeah, Ridley Scott, absolutely.
But that's, and again, beautifully drawn. Like, but I see your daughter's there. It was so hard. Like, we live. And
it reminds me a lot of, like, I mean, we've seen it in a lot of like trilogy movie things, but I mean, I think the best example I can think of off the top of my head is The Matrix, right? So the first movie, they're like, we don't really know like how successful this is going to be, so they kind of set up like this complete story. And I feel like Volume 1 left us on this upswing, like, oh yeah, like things are about to like get way better, and then number 2 comes in and they're like, oh, completely different direction. Like nothing worked out the way you were expecting. And we're kind of going to just like drive it into your head until that way we can leave the end of Volume 2 on like this big cliffhanger of like, is this going to get better? And then the whole next arc can be nothing but, building us back up and redeeming everything again.
Bro, we haven't even seen like that parliament of extraterrestrials that we were introduced to as just like a little tease in volume
last
1.
3 pages of the first volume.
Yeah, and they did the same thing with this. The last 2 pages they give us long ago, and that person following that little beacon that dissolves, and a monolith rises out of the ground. And the only dialogue we get is
like
the
2001.
True, it's here. Yeah. So what is this? So what, like, we last time we had the Miranda brothers on here, like I asked them straightforward. I'm like, obviously, Volume 2 was contingent upon the success of Volume 1. At this point, with how well Volume 1 did, Volume 3 has to be guaranteed. And clearly, from the way that they wrote this, Volume 3 is definitely guaranteed.
It has to be greenlit. It has to be greenlit.
Yeah, it cannot be far behind at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, the letter at the end, it gave me a lot more like hope and understanding, because this volume, I was like, I don't know, like, I'm kind of in and out on this. And it's not like like sympathy, but like them explaining where their headspace was makes a lot of sense as to like what they wrote, like it makes it easier to understand where it was all coming from, So I think that letter at the end really helped endear me a little more to this volume, So I'm excited to see where it goes. There was like some crazy stuff in this issue though, where like everything everything hits the fan and Homeboy's like, I'm sorry, I'm out of here. Blink. It just like disappears. It's like, okay, all right, good job being a hero. Thanks. I thought like
alone.
Yeah. He's just like, I'm out of here. Sorry. I thought the plague was cool though, like to see them show up and kind of have like
that was
more
brutal.
explanation.
That was that moment in this volume. Like, children have a bad track record in the series, so bad, because that was just savage. They were locked in there, and then just the outbreak from that one. They just start savagely ripping each other to pieces as they're evolving.
A little bit of 28 days later. The fact that how fast it went, right? Just the first volume, you see these 2 kids, you find out the backstory with cancer and everything, with wiping out their mom, and then the journey that they take and the sacrifices people are doing to help them along the way. And then they go through hell and back and finally make it. And you think, oh, the Miranda brothers, you think you're not going to be able to darken this up any more than what you did. And then this volume comes out. And right from volume 1, everything is just falling apart. Remember that scout that fell through the bus?
Simon.
In the first volume, in the first issue of the second volume, like that scout falls through, and they're just like, you're
dead.
Toodaloo. And it doesn't get any better. It just doesn't get any better. And Hototo does, like, you don't see them rise to the occasion. It's always like they're just patchworking everything that's happening. And then the city splits. That megalopolis splits in half. You got one sector going one way, the other sector going the other, and then we lost.
That was another plot that they left wide open, is Nesbeth, the one that led the human faction out to their slaughter, intentionally brought them to that almost like religious organization, the cannibal cult. But it turns out they're infected with something, and we see that leader that I presume killed Nesbeth in that last issue,
right,
sitting there with corpses hanging from the ceiling, crawling on him like a creature, chowing down. Yeah. And then went up to Nesbo and talked about how he's strong of flesh, and that was really their intention. Was they've been looking for somebody that can take on what they want to give. And you see all these small maggot-looking creatures just crawl up him and start going into every hole in his head. So who knows what's going to happen with him? Is he going to be another big antagonist? Where is all of this going?
Yeah. There's a lot of like open threads there.
For me,
I was excited to see that they also like brought more Palladians in though, because it seemed like we had a pretty tight team going into this volume, but it was just like killing them off left and right, and
they were tight for 2 issues.
Yeah, so it's kind of like so we were excited for the age of Palladians, and now there are none. So what do we do? But
we live Hototo and someone else.
Hototo fired up, like he legit fired up. He like Super Saiyan stuff, and even
his character design is so fire, and they just like keep upgrading how good that character design is.
His sister to rest. He put his arm out. He screamed that he had that whole fire like aura around him, but then
he's got like the red cape.
The cape materialized. I'm like, the way they did it in the panel too. I'm like, man, that was slick.
Yep. Yeah,
for
Super
me,
Saiyan's probably like a good comparison because that's another thing where like the character upgrades actually just keep looking cool. Like you never get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm tired of this. Like they just keep making it cooler. That's how Hatoto is. Like every upgrade he gets, I'm like, man, he kind of looks even cooler than before.
Any of you guys reading 8 Billion Genies?
No.
yes.
I am. Yep.
What do you guys
It's
think
really
of that?
good.
How many issues are they in? Like 4 issues in at this
4
point?
issues in.
Yeah.
I think it's a masterpiece.
Yeah,
Charles
it is.
Soule really has done a terrific job with this. The last time I saw him, last time I paid real close attention to what he was doing was the relaunch of Doomsday and Superman, and just a couple of years ago, where Doomsday came back. They're just the whole new DC 52 or whatever it was. That was the last time I specifically remember reading Charles Soule. But yeah, it's such a fantastic, fresh idea, and that how the story progresses along in like its own metric timeline is very, very well done. It's crafted very, very well, and I think 8 Billion Genies is top 5 for me of the year so far, and I think We Live just pumped itself up into like 1A, 1B. Yeah, 8 Billion Genies. Yeah, it's worth checking out for sure.
Yeah, it is. It is really good. It's such a great concept too. Charles Soule for me is he's like the guy that is kind of steering Star Wars at Marvel right now for the most part too. But yeah, I mean, the whole notion behind the idea and how everybody has their own genie, can make one wish, and then that one guy in a bar says, my one wish is that none of the wishes of anybody else affects anybody in my bar. You know, everything. It's really well thought out, and I can't wait to see where it goes every single issue when it comes out.
Yeah, each book is a cliffhanger. It's just
it's
guys,
an 8-issue
it's so
series.
well done. It's so well done.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm gonna bow out, guys. Have a good night. Mark, thanks for having me on. And everyone, please check out 8 Billion Genies. But for the love of God, go get We Live and read the White and the Black at first books, and then 2 through 5. What the Miranda brothers are doing is nothing short of crafting a masterpiece. And go read Volume 1 if you haven't. You are missing out on some of the best modern day storytelling. But yeah, guys, have a good night.
Peace.
See ya.
That was Chris, aka the Comic Vet, nominated numerous times in the Comic Book Community Awards. You can go vote there at cbcawards.org. Just throwing that out there.
Cool.
Very cool. Paul, what's another one on your hit list for this week?
We have the last. Actually, you know what? Let's do.
Please tell me you read that, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah.
Human Target.
Yeah, that was fun.
2 weeks in a row, Tom King knocks it out of the park as normal.
Yes.
Yeah, because the Riddler one shot was definitely the read of everybody's week, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, not to cut that off, but yeah, I didn't get to talk about Riddler. Man, that was definitely my read of the week. That is actually the only book that I read on time last week. Like Tuesday morning, I was like, "Where is this? I've got to read this," and it delivered. Landed on every level. I was like, "This is amazing." I read that and like one other book on Tuesday, and then the rest of my day was so busy, and then the week, and so like everything else from last week, I pretty much read today, but Riddler was top of the list, and it delivered in every way. So yeah, this week, like what's it called, the Human Target book, I was like, yeah, I'm excited to check out what Tom King's doing here. Which also, I don't know, I'm sure this news dropped elsewhere, but Tom King talked about it on Tom Talks, his like little podcast thing. He's doing the origin story for Gotham City, so that's going to be pretty interesting. He talked a little bit about it. I'm excited to read that.
Gotham Year One. Who's he bringing back? What detective is it?
I don't know what he said exactly. It has to do with like Bruce Wayne's like grandparents and stuff, and it's basically the origin of modern day Gotham City. So like the Gotham City we know and stuff. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Phil Hester is on the art.
Yeah.
And then he's got Danger Street. Said that announcement is coming soon. He
Yeah.
said.
That's back on target.
That's back on track.
But yeah, the Tales of the Human Target was, it was 3 distinct stories, running, and I love how it was, he brought back the 3 figures from the JLI with Guy Gardner and Booster Gold and Fire, and how he weaved them all through the stories. And Mark, you and I were talking before. It was like it's something that really, if you're reading it and you thought to yourself, and you got like 3/4 of the way through, and you said to yourself, what is something that could tie all 3 of these together? You might have been able to come up with the answer, because when he did show you what the answer was, you're kind of like, oh man, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I see that coming?
Yeah, so we get a Booster Gold, we get Fire, and we get who's the last one? Guy Gardner. All 3 having their own individual stories, and wondering how they tie in together. And then we notice in all 3 of them that somebody is getting assassinated, attacked, killed, whatever. And I don't know why it didn't dawn instantly on me that obviously this is Christopher right here the whole time in front of our faces. But you get so caught up in the depth of storytelling that's taking place in each one of these little mini stories that you kind of lose focus of that. You lose focus of what the end game is because you're in the moment. And it was really smooth. I like how he did that a lot.
Yeah.
And then it made the reveal that's so obvious, so right there in front of your face. It made it a big deal. Like, dude, it's a Human Target. We've gone through like 30 something pages and we hadn't even touched on the Human Target.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of dawned on me whenever they were at the author's compound in Maine. I was like, oh yeah, like Human Target is not here, so like he must be here, and then the whole like, I don't need a bodyguard. It's like, dude, you got shot, and like nothing was really mentioned of that. So there's something fishy here. And so I kind of put it together at that point, but I love the way that he used like such strong personalities to kind of like keep you distracted in each storyline from like what was what was really going on in each one, and Booster Gold just like amazing.
Yeah,
I loved every scene with him and Skeets.
Skeets is the eternal ball buster, man.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because Tom King wrote it in such a way, I think, that Guy and Booster and Fire are such have such a force of nature in their 3 stories that the Christopher Chance character kind of fades into the background, just like Christopher Chance fades into the background as a character as well, when he takes on all of these identities, so it's kind of like, he was almost kind of playing almost meta, saying, okay, you know what, Christopher Chance is right here, you don't see him, the same way that's supposed to be happening in the stories.
Yeah, he's hiding in plain sight. And I also think that this issue lended a lot to what came before, because this is the halfway point. It's a 12-issue maxi series. We've gotten 6 issues in this one shot, and it said to be continued next month or next week. I felt like as soon as I read that, I'm like, yes, it's back. This isn't just like a placeholder. No, we're back with this issue. Mm-hmm. And but it added a lot to what came before with the confrontation with Guy Gardner, Ice, and the Human Target. Like during that confrontation, he knew that he couldn't sit there and go straight on with Guy, and we see why, because Guy's already brought the heat. Like Guy took the ring off. Like it showed that guy with the ring off, just man with hands. Like Christopher Chance ain't taking Guy on.
Yeah, to that, it kind of reminded me of like your network TV like mid-season return. You always had you'd have your premiere episode, a bunch of like filler, then you would get like your big mid-season finale episode, then you get your like mid-season return, and then you get a bunch of filler till like the last 2 or 3 episodes of the season. And that's what this kind of reminded me of, was like that return from the mid-season break kind of thing, where you get like this really cool like mid-season premiere sort of issue that kind of like sums it up and launches into the next bit.
And they did a good job giving us that last page with the Smallwood artwork that tied in the whole thing together. So the whole premise of this, and the reason why these 3 stories are being told, is because Ice was individually asking each of these 3 characters what they know about Christopher Chance. And they were all telling about a time that they have interacted with him in the past. And it looks like she's gathering information on him to be prepared. So it kind of makes you scratch your head, like, is she the guilty party? Like we already know that we've already been teased. Like despite what the relationship with him and Ice looks like, he looks like he's letting his guard down. But Tom King has reminded us a few different times throughout the story that his guard's not down around her. This is him working her. Despite what it might look like, he's definitely on the job, and I think she's on to him being on the job at this point. Now she's working her angle as well, so I don't know if that's just a defensive measure on her part or if she's actually somehow has a guilty hand in the attempted assassination of Lex Luthor.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested to see, because also we know like Guy Gardner's story is done, right? Like the first
Done.
yeah, like the first half of the series, like they pretty much wrapped up his story and he was here. But now we're getting a little more depth with Fire and what her part in the whole story might be, and so I kind of imagine that's going to be like, Guy Gardner, he was always coming back and returning, and we had Ice in the first like half season or half series, so I kind of suspect that like Fire is going to be like this overarching story element that we're going to see a lot more of in the second half of it all.
So I know during Legends you have like the Justice League team, and like pretty much the only familiar league member on it was Martian Manhunter. You got a lot of C and D list characters. You even had Vibe on there. I think Vibe got killed during Legends in the Justice League title, but like Vixen is on there and a few others. I can't remember who was on the team after that immediately. But Legends is a very, very dope event. That's what we did modern day Suicide Squad.
I love in the book when they when Christopher Chance and Guy Gardner, when he tells them about he was trying to infiltrate the brother blood, and he says, so how about we go back and you let me take you down, and it's like, and I just kept thinking of like, okay, this is Gardner saying there is no way you're like gonna one punch me and take me out. I've had that happen to me before. It's not gonna happen again.
Yeah, his ego wouldn't let him work together. There it is. Yeah, that was a cool team.
That was Justice League Detroit, I believe. Right, Aquaman was the leading the team then.
Weird.
So, Human Target, definitely a great read of the week. Did either of y'all read Detective Comics by Rom V? This is his second issue after taking over the series. It's issue 1063.
Yes.
What did you think of that one? I thoroughly enjoyed that one, as Chris would say, thoroughly. But
yeah, this was one of my read of the weeks. I would say, like, I thought it was amazing the way he brought us into the world, like brought us into like this different version of Gotham, set up these different characters, and then like kind of showed us some classic things as well, and brought us back to status quo, but with a different kind of twist to it all.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, and it's funny because there's a couple things that I thought of when I was reading it. Obviously, the title of it is Overture. Well, it's Gotham Nocturne, I think, but then it's Overture Part 2. And Overture is like the pre part before the big event, right? And so it seems pretty obvious to me they are setting up, I think, to power up or to totally, make Two-Face an A-list villain. They're doing something where he's going to just be a badass. I think that's what Romby is doing.
So one thing that I'm really digging about it is the mythos they're playing with. So they're diving deep. I really liked what Sean Gordon Murphy did with that second volume of White Knight, where they dive into like the history of the Waynes and the Arkhams and the Order of St. Dumas and all that stuff, and getting that Gotham history kind of retold and kind of retrofitted a little bit. And they're doing that in the main continuity now, and we're seeing like the origins of Arkham really. And I thought that was a really cool little touch, and how there's this whole like esteemed family that is clearly very powerful that's almost being lost to time, and them refusing to be lost to time and making a power play for what they feel is their city. I thought that was a really cool touch, and they're clearly working with magic or forces that we haven't seen before or used before, and I think that's pretty
visually, like the music box thing. I thought that, like, man, that was really cool the way it like separates the colors and you get like this weird effect that really just like makes it pop,
Good night, Big Nosh. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. So I'm digging the characters, like the tweaked out son that's having a moment, like squeezing the pole and everything. So there's a lot of little interesting characters. I like that it's not too much. Like like the primary Batman title, I've said this forever. Like, if you just want consistently good Batman storytelling, Detective Comics is where it's at. It doesn't have all the pomp and circumstances and the flash and the pan spec that the main Batman title has, but they use that just to lure people in with numbers. But this is just consistently good storytelling. That's what I feel like we got with this one. It just introduced us more detail to our characters that were kind of mysterious in the first one, kind of explained where these hallucinations were coming from a little bit, because I thought that there was some kind of gas or something, but apparently it's a sound that's being emitted. And they kind of build
noise.
Yeah, exactly. And then bringing Two-Face back in, so we also have a familiar Rogue in the mix, and they're reactivating Two-Face, and how y'all pointed out, potentially to be even bigger and badder than before.
I also like the redesign, like the gold plate. That was pretty cool.
The gold mask.
It reminded me of what was that? Boardwalk Empire.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep.
What was the guy's name in this issue that was playing the piano?
The Maestro.
The Maestro.
Not to be confused with
not to be confused
not to be confused with
the Marvel character.
Character Maestro. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we were
not the
clear
same.
about that.
Not the same person at all.
This is not the future Hulk playing the piano.
No. I really enjoyed this issue. Like, it was everything I was hoping that it would be. It was everything I was hoping it would be. Like, I really enjoyed that first issue, but it felt like a first issue, right? Like, we got to like catch people, hook them in, get them interested, and this one was like, let's really dive into the lore of this like version of Gotham and like really get into what this story is going to be about. And so I'm really excited, man. Like I mean, we kind of talked about it last time. I was even thinking about that as I was reading. I was like, man, I'm like really into this. Whereas like Zdarsky's run, like it's cool when I'm reading the issue, but I'm like, okay, cool. This one, I'm like, man, I'm already hooked, and like I cannot wait for the next issue of this.
Leaves you wanting. It definitely does.
Yeah.
What else y'all got?
Yes.
Perler knocked it out the park with that cover.
Yeah.
That is a gorgeous cover right there. Holding the Genesis and everything. Which, after reading the story, that probably should be killing him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, definitely should be killing him.
Yeah, that cover is phenomenal, though. I was really impressed with that.
So this was it, guys. This was the final issue before the big finale. The penultimate issue here. We get Clark confronting the god at the center of War World that he had to go confront. They bring in the backup story more to the forefront in this one as well, with Conduit coming and snatching the Genesis, and the Superman family having to get that power source and use it to participate in saving Clark and what's coming. But again, Philip Kennedy Johnson does not disappoint. He hooks me in. I thought that there was some fantastic exchanges between him and that power source, and he really shows his humanity in full display. Like, Philip Kennedy Johnson gets this character in a way that hasn't been utilized in a long, long time. And he's consistent with it. And that consistency is much appreciated by me.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed this issue. I thought it did a good job of like really establishing, like who Superman is and who the Super Family is, and how I guess like kind of juxtaposed them really well against, and kind of contrasted them against Mongol, and like what the differences are between these two, and what lengths they're willing to go to either do the right thing or obtain absolute power. So it was really cool. It was a great setup.
The whole juxtaposed thing, because this Clark story ends with Mongol threatening to kill two little kids or do what I say. Rewind 3 pages, you have this energy entity that considers itself unliving, that Clark puts himself in harm's way to save because you don't look unliving to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's like...
Well, you had that, right? And then you also had, he saved somebody who didn't even want to be saved. He's like, why didn't you just like let me die? And he's like, because these people are going to follow you if I don't succeed. He's like, but you're Superman, you will succeed. He's like, but what if, like there's always a contingency, and you need to be alive to lead them. And then you get the backup story where what's his name? Steel like breaks the stone, and he's like, they're like, why'd you do that? You know, like we know that we need that to save her, and he's like, because that's what Superman would have done. I saved this man's life, and we have time to save that other life, and that's what Superman would have done.
He needed to be saved.
So really,
now we have to figure that out. New plan.
Yeah, you know, so it's just like 3 moments in that same issue where they all kind of reiterate who Superman is, and then of course you end with that Mongol line about like, I'll kill whoever to get this power.
Right, and you also have Superman getting the fire of Ulgrin, not by any super strength or any of his superpowers. He solves a riddle, right?
Yeah,
and so it shows, Superman is more than just the powers that he gets from a yellow sun.
Yeah.
And I don't know about y'all, but I was reading that slow trying to solve that riddle. So he's got these kids, and this kid brought that. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, this riddle's too long. Page and a half long.
I was like, I'm gonna see if I can solve the riddle. And about halfway through, I'm like, let's just let Superman handle that. Like,
he's Superman for a reason, and Superman's like his daughter. I'm like, oh yeah, now it's obvious. Yeah, I knew that. I knew that.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited for next week. I mean, we don't have to wait at all. Like, what's Sunday? We got to wait 2 days, and we get War World Apocalypse, and we get to see how it all goes down. Promises to be the confrontation between Clark and the Mongol that is. Promises to have the Authority versus his unmade champions of War World. Promises to reveal who that hooded figure was way back in the first issue that led into this. That really set these catastrophic events in motion. And the rebirth of the Fourth World is said in the solicitation. So,
interesting.
Very interesting, lad.
and it sets everything up back with Clark being on Earth, heading towards Action Comics 1050.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great time to be a Superman fan.
I'm ready. You're not lying, because we have that. We have Son of Kal-El still rock and rolling. I'm excited to get more of the Clark and John dynamic, because that's what I got this guy hooked with. I'm like, bro, please try Superman out. And there was that back and forth, that father-son dynamic that was just masterfully crafted by Philip Kennedy Johnson. Yeah. And he's a father. Like, he's a Superman fan and a father, and he's the perfect writer for the character right now. You know what I mean? It just fits perfectly. And then, we have the big anniversary. It's really a great year to try out Superman if you really don't know if he's for you or assume that the character is not for you. This is what dreams are made of, folks.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
This is what nightmares are made out of. Department of Truth, issue number 20. And I don't mean that in a bad way. This book is the only Tynan book that you will see me promote. It is fantastic. This one,
I declare this issue as my read of the week, honestly. Like,
is it? The artwork was great. The whole format of storytelling in this is great. I don't mean like the individual panels are great, but just the use of artwork to help tell the story. But Cole Turner's husband, I think his name is Matt.
Yeah, Matt, I think.
So Matt has been picked up by Hawk, who we found out is not actually working with the Department of Truth, but with the Ministry of Lies, which is the Russian counterpart, fighting over power. And they bring him in and show him where Cole viciously killed those 2 reporters way back in the school shooting issue. I don't think I can say that on here, but it was a comic book. It was a comic book in a story speaking on that topic. And the fictional character in the comic book shot reporters in a comic book. None of this happened in real life. I really feel like you have to dance around that topic. But so they show Matt what Cole's been up to in an attempt to get Matt to convince Cole to get out of the department. And we get to see the Ministry of Lies tell a story and tell Matt what the Department of Truth is. And it's kind of ironic listening to the Ministry of Lies tell a story, because we're seeing their story not add up with what we've already seen in the pages of the book previously. And then I catch myself wondering, well, I kind of believe them. Despite the fact having seen differently, I still kind of believe them, which is weird. I thought that was a really I was really drawn into the story to that degree. It was cool.
Yeah, I love the way that like he responded to everything and the way he like kind of takes it all in stride, and he's like, oh man, like I feel sick, you know, and it's like, yeah, like this is the level of depravity that we are dealing with at this point. But like, you know, there's been so many questions all through the book. Sure, they've given us the Department of Truth's perspective on their history, which you got to remember, like, you know, of all the years of like alternative facts and subjective proof and all of this stuff, like this book is founded on that. And so the fact that we've only got the Department of Truth's perspective on their history in a world where like history literally changes, I think it's really interesting to get the department or the Ministry of Lies perspective on the history of the Department of Truth and everything that has transpired since what, the 50s, I think they started at, as far as like these two agencies competing with each other and trying to manipulate reality in this way.
Yeah, when they got Crowley and brought the lady in red to Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, and then to like kind of get her history and her origin, you know, like she was something that I guess she's a fiction, right? Like she's something that has been believed to
she's legit the devil.
So like, is she from a whole different realm? Is she from a different
do you remember that issue with Crowley and they were touching on Scientology and everything and satanic rituals?
Yeah, I don't think I've read that one.
They went out in the desert and they literally summoned her. Like they just started playing with these forces. Because you got to remember, the Catholic Church was aware of all this stuff way back when. I think it was the 1600s or the 1500s, but they were able to suppress it and keep it from everybody until people caught wind of it. Very few people in high places into occult stuff. And they went out into the Nevada desert, if I'm not mistaken, and they did some ritualistic stuff, and they brought her over to our world from her world. And she's the literal devil.
Okay.
Like that, not saying the biblical devil, I'm saying per this book, she's a literal devil, and they haven't specified how you want to apply that to what. And I don't think it really has any kind of limitation to it, but she is not a fiction. She's there.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like the whole like explanation, the black hats, like everything, like it all finally came together. You know, they finally like gave us another substantial piece to kind of like find footing with. You know, I think like this whole story, like it takes place in like such a subjective realm that like you really can't
even in the book.
Yeah, yeah, like you know, like yeah, like so, like it's hard to find like places where you're like, okay, this is a truth. Like there really isn't any like concrete truth or evidence until you get a situation like this where you have two different entities that do know their perspective truths, and then once they're kind of like comparing and contrasting, you're like, okay, that space in between, that is something concrete that I can stand on and I can like find my footing here, you know. And so this to me is like a very like foundational, like pivotal issue for everything moving forward. You know, like this is a reference issue where we can be like, well, look, we know this happened for sure because both of them like agree or disagree on this, you know.
Paul, do you read Department of Truth?
I do, but I haven't actually read the last issue. But yeah.
Well, we just spoiled nothing for you because it's really that complex, my man.
Yeah, like the visuals in this really issue are top notch.
What else y'all got? I've got one other one that I've read this week and one from this week that I have not read. And the one I have not read is the White Knight Presents the Red Hood issue 2, which Paul informed me that he believes is the final one. There was just a two-part shindig.
Is this the other one that you have read?
I have, because that's Swamp Thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The B cover.
Holy potatoes. Who did that?
That's
Brian Boland.
That is amazing.
I read the White Knight Presents Red Hood #2, and then Calculated Man #3. I don't think either of y'all are reading that, but that issue was phenomenal. That whole series so far has been great.
That uses giveaways at who puts that out? That's Aftershock. The guy,
Aftershock,
the Aftershock booth guy at HeroesCon gave me a stack to pass out to people. I'll
Yeah, that's one of my favorite series right now. All 3 of those issues have been top notch. Like they're just like a lot of fun. Really cool stuff happening there. A lot of fun, and just like you could see where this could be like kind of like a a TV show or something. But it's just like a ton of fun. Like I love it. Every issue's been great. It's a lot of interesting, fun things. A lot of like great characters and stuff.
Is it fun?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
A lot of fun. Ton of fun.
Yeah. It's like a day at the water park, Not as expensive as Disneyland, though.
Okay.
Yeah. Red Hood 2. Read it if you want to.
Well, I bought it, so I'm going to. I'm not breaking up my White Knight Presents. I've got all of it, so
like
I'm
honestly,
in the universe.
I thought this issue was a little better than the first issue, but just like the whole experience kind of was like, whatever. Like, let me get through this, because it ends with like continued in what is it? Beyond White Knight number whatever is coming. So
5 or 6.
Yeah, so basically all they did was gave you the origin story of Red Hood so that you'll know what he's about to do in Beyond the White Knight.
I will tell you, I do enjoy having Simone DeMayo artwork in it. I just really like Simone DeMayo.
Was he even in this one though?
I don't know if he did.
He does. Yeah. He does some minor, but he doesn't do. He doesn't do the majority of the issue though. I don't think.
He did the flashback stuff in the first one when the.
Yeah, I was gonna say in the first one he did pages like 1 through 4 or something like that, and in this one he probably does like a handful of pages.
I don't see any now that I'm flipping through it, but he's on the front cover. This is the first time I flipped through it.
Yeah, I think. I think that Sean Gordon Murphy does these so that he can catch up on the art part in the main series. If you remember in the last time when he was doing, they had the one with Mr. Freeze. That was
that was so good though.
Yeah, but it helps him catch up on everything else, because he like kind of co-writes these, but he doesn't do the art, so he can catch up on the art on the main stories that he's doing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who it was that did the that helped with Mr. There's a big name on that Mr. Freeze book. I think it was the colorist. It was a really big name that they had come in for that book. I don't remember, but I'm going to read it. It'll be all right.
Yeah, it's worth getting through. I'll tell you that much.
So, last book of the night, the finale to Swamp Thing by Rom V. Paul definitely wins the cover battle on that one. So this was overall a phenomenal, 16 issue run.
Mm-hmm.
This was really cool, and I will happily say that Rom V understands and writes this character on a level that the only other writer that has ever done it is Alan Moore, and I can confidently say that with the concepts that he plays with, the ideas that he plays with, and the stuff that he introduces. This is not a slugfest story, and this was just a beautiful way to finish this all off, because what would you really do other than, like, it's kind of one of those things, like the only way to beat a bad idea is with a better idea, and it was on full display in this, and I just thought it was awesome. And there was a lot, it felt like a lot of plot threads going into these last couple issues, but they were all brought in so tight with the bow on. It was smooth.
Yeah.
And I love how the very end of it was basically, you had all the main antagonist and the main threads, but the main thing that happened at the very end, the last thing that he wanted to leave you with was that Swamp Thing can look at himself in a mirror and not see a monster anymore.
Mm-hmm. Despite having a monster in his ear, Woodrew.
Yeah, right.
My only complaint with this issue is actually the end. Like, I did not need that epilogue. If it had ended whenever he touches the tree and she says, like, what do you see now? And then you get the page with, like, Swamp Thing looking happy. Mm-hmm. I felt like that was a perfect bow. And then I was like, oh, there's still, like, 4 more pages or 2 more pages or something.
that was a great single page flash, too.
Yeah, like, that would have been such a great... I felt the same way, too, so maybe it's just like me, but Rom V's Detective Comics, right? whenever he says, Harvey, I'm kind of unimpressed because you used to own this place. And then Bruce is walking out of the bar and he's like, I could have said, I can say the same about you. And then there's another line where it's like, you used to own this city. And I'm like, I didn't need that last line. Like, it really had more impact without that line. So maybe that's just a me thing where I'm like, I feel like they're over explaining to me. Maybe everybody else, enjoys that bit. But yeah, that was the only thing I didn't like about this issue was I thought it went a little longer than it needed to. But overall, like, it was just this perfect, like, clash of these two ideas and breaking it down and explaining, the greed, just like becoming too big for his britches and being like, oh yeah, like I am the Avatar, and the Parliament's like, yeah, exactly, you're the Avatar, like you do what we say. Do you not remember that? And he's like, So I thought it was great to just like see him get put in check by, what he represents. Not to like get into politics, but we have all of these representatives for the people, but yet these representatives are allowed to basically do what they want. And so I thought it was like a really nice touch to kind of have like the people putting him in check and being like, no, like you're our Avatar. So like, don't forget that we're in agreement here with this idea. Like this, the green is onto something here, and we should probably like fall in line with that before we all get destroyed by the Trinity. And so, watching him kind of backpedal after he overstepped his bounds, I thought was like a really good way to show, like, like Mark said, the only way to beat a bad idea is with a better idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Ron V definitely plays with, he plays with it. He doesn't necessarily play with like world-ending concepts. That's not really what he plays with. With smaller concepts that have a greater context to the world, if that makes any sense to me.
Yeah,
and that's the part that I love about him is he plays with universal concepts, as
yeah,
things that can apply to everybody, that everyone can probably understand and identify with, as opposed to these like I said, these world-ending type of concepts that other art creators tend to
yeah.
go with.
Well, I feel like they have greater impact, like on
Right.
our daily lives. Like what he's touching on is things that impact like what you do every day, versus like a lot of these like bigger concepts that people try to tackle, and it's like so abstract. It's like that doesn't really affect my daily life. Like at the
Right.
end of like over the span of my lifetime, that has an impact, but not every day. And Ron V's like, no, look, like you're messing with nuclear power here. Like, are you really going to let this end this very day that we stand on? That's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, like I love Dark Crisis, but I don't really think a great darkness is going to come and find me anytime soon. But to your point, I mean, we all live in a world with nuclear energy, and we all live in a world with greed and things like that. And so those are things that, as a reader, you can really kind of latch onto and say, okay, you know what, this really does. If it doesn't impact me individually, at least I'm aware of it and I understand it because it applies to the real world that I'm in.
Yeah. I also really love the way that this issue like circled around, some of the Trinity stuff. I was like, those issues are recent enough that like we don't need the like strong reminder like they did, but it was still cool to see them be like, oh yeah, like I woke up and I walked through the desert and I stumbled upon kindness, and that changed the trajectory of everything. And then I also stumbled upon unkindness, but I didn't return the favor. And so like that was really cool, but then also to see him like speak to the greed and be like, yo, like whenever I first met you in the desert, this is what you said to me. This is what you told me. But now we see that what you said can't be true. And I think that wasn't true. And I thought that was like really cool that he brought everything so full circle like that, and just like really put a bow on it, on all 16 issues so perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see. Hopefully this isn't the end of Swamp Thing for a while. I know he has a Dark Crisis issue that's coming up, but someone like Rom V shows that he can, what he can do with something like that. I hope that the sales are good enough. Obviously, they were enough to continue or extend it from 10 to 16 issues. Hopefully the sales have been enough that they'll, get him back into his own title again soon.
I'm definitely looking forward to what comes next. I can't imagine them just letting him lie.
All right.
I also thought that line, whenever he says, he's talking about the brothers on the tire swing or whatever. He's like, the boy, like he was brave enough to get on that swing, but he wouldn't let go with his hands, but his heart still wanted to fly. It's like, damn, dude. Like, he writes poetry, man. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
Well, guys, y'all have any other books y'all want to hit on tonight? Anything y'all want to announce? Anything coming up? Ryan, are you dropping anything anytime soon?
No, this week should be a little bit slower for me. So really right now it's a lot of catching up because these last 2 weeks have been very, very busy.
Yeah, I told everyone who watched last week that you couldn't be there because you were celebrating a special occasion. Leave it up to you to break the news if you would like to or not.
Yeah. Well, Sunday specifically, we were celebrating my mom's 60th birthday, which was actually Tuesday, but we had her party and a get together and everything on Sunday. So I was out of town all day for that. But Saturday we did a gender reveal for my wife and I's pregnancy. So we'll be welcoming a baby boy in early February, late January is what they're looking at right now. So
huge congrats.
Yeah, thank you. It's exciting. Have another kid running around. So
what are you up to, 13?
Yeah, just about. This will be number 5. So
number 5.
Yeah.
You officially have a basketball team, my man.
My oldest just started basketball, so
not too bad for a guy. Not too bad for a guy who I've only seen sit in his car.
Look at me, I'm not even in the car today.
Paul, what do you got going on? I know we don't have a deep dive premiering this week.
We do not. This is actually going to be a free week, but I'm working on 2 things. I'm working on some things that I got when I was able to join you and your family up in Jacksonville. I'm working on that. And then I'm also working on, I am like 6 people away from 250 subscribers now. So
nice.
I'm looking at doing kind of like a stacked giveaway, and that is once we get to 250, you'll get this. For every 10 above that, I'll keep adding on. And so
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So I'm working on that as well. And then next week, not this week, but next week we should have another. We had a great episode of Guess That Key last week, and then we'll have another one next week. Oh my God,
that was fun. And not just because I mopped up the place with my victory either. Yeah, that's just a ridiculously fun show. If there's anyone in the chat and it's not what he's talking about, it's the premier comic book game show on YouTube. It's hosted every couple of weeks on Sector 2815, where each of the panelists bring a hidden key comic book, and it's basically a game of 10 questions to try to guess what book they have. The chat gets to participate and play along as well. To the victors go the spoilers. Yeah, spoils.
There you go.
It's a really good time. We laugh a lot. We say a lot of inappropriate things to each other. And that's probably the best part about it.
Exactly.
But I appreciate everybody.
We have rules, but they really don't apply.
The primary rule is that the rules don't apply, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
that's the only rule that matters, is that the rules don't matter.
Rule number 1 is there are no rules.
Exactly. So who knows what could happen. And tomorrow I do have tomorrow morning, I'm trying to look, the Big Time Collectibles mystery box battle that I had a week or so ago. I did a follow-up video on my box weekly, kind of showing back off what was in it, as well as doing a value evaluation on it. Because with mystery boxes, people like to kind of get an idea of what you spent and what the return on the box is. So I did a video looking at that, which it definitely suggests people checking it out. Because if you're not picking up Big Time Collectibles mystery boxes for whatever reason, this might change your mind and want to try it out, because we've done numerous ones of these. And I know like DJ Links has done little value evaluation videos as well, and some of the other panelists, but it's worth putting it out there to see what you get for your money. It's absolutely outrageous. So I'm setting that video to premiere tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., which I've come to find out that having videos released at 7 a.m. does nothing for your viewership of them. But I like them to be available and ready for when people wake up. If you care and keep up with my stuff, it's there waiting on you. And if you don't, you probably don't care what time it premieres. But I started just playing with one video a week, premiering it or releasing it in the afternoon. And there's a huge difference between having something smart, I guess, because it hits people's phones with notifications, right? Like at least people that get notified. And if people hit it and start watching it, it starts pumping it, from what I understand. So when I release stuff when everyone's asleep, it doesn't get that initial hit of traction. If I release them in the afternoon, like I'll have a video run up 100 views that day. I'm like, that's crazy, because 100 views is normally like 2 hands up success for me, like on at least the pre-recorded stuff. Because
almost like everybody is looking for an excuse to not do work. Like they have a reason they can take a quick break and watch your video.
Well, I assume like
TubeBuddy.
Yeah,
that'll tell you what time your audience is on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. But see,
that's when you want to put it.
I don't do any of this for views, and I never have. But I just thought I'd play with one video and see what it would do. And I do it on a Saturday, and it all happened by accident, really, because like with the whole like giving members early access content, it's not like it used to be where I just put up a video, set a time. Now I set it and allow it for members, and they'll get it days in advance. Like the members already have access to the stuff that they had access to tomorrow's video days ago. The Wednesday video is already available to them. So I have to remember to go into YouTube the day before, like right now, I just did it, and change it from the members only option to the release date option. And I forgot to do it on a Saturday video. And then I was busy doing stuff, and it wasn't until that afternoon that I got there and switched it over. And then I watched the Saturday afternoon video just run. I'm like, that's crazy. So
which is kind of ridiculous that YouTube handles it that way. Like every other platform, you can schedule like what time it goes up for like subscribers and stuff. Usually even down to like what tier it goes live for. And then you can also schedule like your general release time, and it'll just automatically do that.
I can schedule it for the tiers and everything. Like I can make it available to the public, to all channel members, to just the channel members that part of their membership is the early release videos and stuff. I was thinking about doing like kind of like some vlog stuff, like looking at just like random vlog stuff. That way I don't have to edit it or try to like record it like a video, just random recorded stuff, from like the cell phone, and just making that available to like all channel members here and there. But I have to do something worth vlogging, like go to a comic shop I don't normally go to, or go like, I don't know. I just feel weird about showing off like my actual collection. Like this is just Hulk books and stuff that I'm currently reading, and like random giveaways and recent purchases up here. Like as I read it, it goes out to the collection, I don't know.
You'll never know if you don't test it.
Well, I just don't. I just feel
surprised what people are into.
Collection. Well, I'm not worried about them being into it. I don't want to showcase. Yeah, I don't want to advertise all that. It's a really sweet room, though. It's super sweet.
Yeah. If nothing else, rub everybody's face in it.
I don't know. But anyways, I'll sleep on that. I appreciate everyone coming and hanging out tonight. I appreciate you guys hopping on with me. And thank you to the channel sponsors. Be sure to hit the description down below. Check out Big Time Collectibles, Justin Comics for all your cleaning and pressing. And if you want to buy any cheap books, be sure to check out Pop Static on Instagram. The link is in the description to all those things. Follow these guys on their social media and all that good stuff. Instagram, YouTube, yada, yada, yada. And until next time, as always, I'm Mark, but our Legion.
Wow. How awesome.
Whoa, the real Power Ranger, Finn. All right, here it comes.
We're going to take your picture. 1, 2, 3.
Got it. Thank you so much.